My ex leaked my private photos and ruined my life. But then I saw the IP address. And it was my best friend's. I've always been the type of girl who played it safe. Not because I was shy or scared of life. No, I just understood the cost of reckless choices. I watched my mom spiral after my dad left us. I saw her trust the wrong people, give away too much of herself, and then sit there stunned when it all came crashing down. I promised myself I'd be smarter. I'd build walls before I handed out keys. And for most of my life, I did exactly that. Until Logan. Logan was magnetic. The kind of guy who walks into a room and owns it without saying a word. He wasn't the loudest or flashiest, but somehow, everyone wanted his attention. When we met at a college alumni mixer, I wasn't even looking for anything serious. I was 3 years out of school, working as a junior marketing exec at a media firm in downtown Chicago, and I had a 5-year plan that didn't involve love, marriage, or whatever came next. But Logan had a way of making you feel like you were the only person in the world worth listening to. He listened when I talked about my dreams. He remembered the smallest details, like the way I took my coffee, or how I couldn't fall asleep without white noise. And he never pressured me. Not for commitment. Not for photos. Not even for intimacy. Not at first. At the time, I thought that was romantic. Now I know it was strategic. We dated for nearly 8 months. It wasn't always perfect. He had a temper he tried to hide. And sometimes I'd catch him texting someone and locking his phone the moment I walked in. But when I brought it up, he'd smile and say I was overthinking. That I had trust issues. And the way he said it, it made me feel guilty. Like maybe I was the problem. My best friend, Harper, had doubts from day one. She didn't like how Logan acted around other women. Said he was too charming. Too polished. Guys like that always have backup plans, she told me over drinks one night, and I snapped at her. Told her she didn't understand what it was like to finally be seen, to finally have someone who chose you every day. I wish I had listened. Harper and I had been best friends since freshman year of college. We were roommates by accident, soulmates by choice. I used to joke that we were married in every way that mattered, except legally. She was fiercely loyal, unapologetically blunt, and she always had my back. Always. Or so I thought. It was late fall when Logan started asking for photos. Not just selfies. Not sweet little snaps. Those kinds of photos. At first, I said no. I told him I didn't feel comfortable, and he said he respected that. But then he started pulling away. Canceling plans. Taking hours to text me back. I felt the shift, like love was suddenly conditional. So one night, after a bottle of wine and a particularly vulnerable call where he said, I just want to feel close to you when we're apart, I caved. I sent them. And for a while, nothing bad happened. In fact, things got better. He was sweeter. More affectionate. I felt like we had taken a step forward. I even started picturing a future, not a distant fantasy, but a real one. Joint leases. Matching coffee mugs, a ring. Then, out of nowhere, he broke up with me. No warning. No explanation. Just a short text one Tuesday afternoon. I'm sorry. This isn't working. I hope you find someone better. And just like that, he was gone. I spiraled. I tried to call. He blocked me. I went to his place. He wasn't home or maybe just didn't answer. Harper came over that night with ice cream and fuzzy blankets and did everything a best friend is supposed to do. She let me cry. Let me scream. Listen to me rage. I kept saying, he wouldn't just leave like that. But he had. And I had no choice but to accept it. I took a week off work and stayed offline for the most part. But when I finally logged into Instagram again, my world imploded. There were notifications. Hundreds of them. My DMs were flooded. Some supportive, some vile. My follower count had exploded. People from high school, college, even my boss had messaged me. And then I saw the post. Or rather, the account. Someone had created a fake profile in my name, using my private photos. The intimate ones. Photos I had sent only to Logan. They were blurred enough to avoid being removed, but clear enough to ruin me. The captions were disgusting. cruel, mocking. They tagged my workplace, used my real name, linked my actual profile. My stomach dropped. My ears rang. I reported the account instantly, but it was too late. Screenshots were already circulating. People had saved them. Gossip sites had picked it up. The damage was irreversible. I wanted to die. I wasn't being dramatic. I truly did not think I could survive that kind of exposure. That kind of violation. My body wasn't just something someone had seen, it had become content. A joke. A headline. I couldn't even walk down the street without wondering who had seen me naked. HR called me in the next day. They said they understood, that they believed me, but I needed to take a personal leave. Clients were nervous. The company had a reputation to protect. Translation: we don't want your mess here. I walked home that afternoon in the freezing wind, broke down in the middle of the sidewalk, and threw up in a trash can. Everything I had worked for, every ounce of dignity I'd held on to, gone. I went dark after that. Deleted my socials. Shut off my phone. Harper came by almost every day to check on me. She was supportive, the way she always had been, but sometimes I caught her looking at me strangely. Like, smug? I brushed it off. Trauma does weird things to your brain. I kept telling myself it had to be Logan. He was the only one who had the photos. The only one with motive. Maybe it was revenge. Maybe he was a narcissist all along. But I knew he did it. I even went to the police. They took a report but didn't seem hopeful. These cases are hard to prosecute, the detective told me. Unless you've got solid proof. And then, one day, I got an email. From a burner address. No subject. Just one line. Logan didn't leak your photos. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Attached was a single PDF. It was a screenshot of a hosting site admin dashboard. The kind people use to upload images. There was a list of activity logs. Dates. Times. IP addresses. And the most recent upload? It was traced back to an IP address I recognized. Because it wasn't Logan's. It was Harper's. My mind couldn't make sense of it. Harper? It had to be a mistake. Maybe a shared Wi-Fi address? Maybe Logan had used her place once? Maybe she was hacked? A coincidence? A glitch? But the pit in my stomach told me otherwise. I stared at the IP log for hours that night. I cross-referenced the timestamps with texts, calls, memories. The last upload had been made at 2:13 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I remembered that night clearly. Harper had been at my apartment. We had watched trashy reality TV and eaten Thai takeout. She left just after midnight, kissed me on the cheek, told me to sleep it off. She got home around 12:30 a.m. and the photos were uploaded less than 2 hours later. I couldn't breathe. I thought back to everything. The way she'd always hated Logan. The way she looked almost satisfied when I cried over him. How she'd never liked when I was in a relationship, always making snide comments, always warning me someone was going to hurt me. I thought she was protecting me. But now I wondered if she was just waiting for me to fall apart. The next morning, I didn't say a word. I didn't text her. I didn't open the curtains. I sat on my couch in the same clothes I'd worn for 2 days, holding my laptop like it might explode. My emotions weren't linear, they weren't even clear. There was no neat progression from shock to sadness to rage. It was all of it, all at once, a wildfire behind my ribcage. I didn't know what to believe. All I knew was this. If Harper had done this, it was worse than anything Logan could have done. Because Logan betrayed me as a boyfriend. But Harper? She was family. And she had violated me in a way that felt almost surgical. I needed answers. But I couldn't just confront her. She was clever. Calculated. She'd deny it. Cry. Flip the script. She might even try to destroy evidence if she felt cornered. So I did something I hadn't done since college. I played dumb. Over the next few days, I reached out, gently. I told her I was trying to move forward, trying to heal. She responded immediately. Invited me out for brunch. brought me a candle that said Self-Care Queen on it and a bag of my favorite matcha cookies. She hugged me tighter than usual and whispered, "I'm so glad you're coming back to yourself." The audacity made me nauseous. I smiled. I played along. I let her think I was grateful. But inside, something dark had started to grow. Not just pain. Not just anger. A cold, focused resolve. If she really did this, if she truly destroyed my life for her own entertainment or twisted jealousy, I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to ruin her. But first, I needed proof. I started by searching her name through public records, just in case. Harper was a freelancer, a successful one at that. She wrote for wellness blogs, produced content for yoga brands, even ran an aesthetic Instagram about authentic living. But what stood out was that she also had a side gig, website consulting. She built and managed back-end content for influencers. Clients paid her to schedule posts, clean up digital footprints, and, wait for it, upload anonymous content when they wanted to keep their main brand clean. Suddenly, the platform my leaked photos appeared on didn't feel so random. I dug deeper. I found a small design firm she had collaborated with. Posed as a potential client. Scheduled a discovery call. During the call, I asked who handled the back end. The woman replied, "Harper manages most of our cloud content. She's a ghost in the system, knows how to cover her tracks." My blood ran cold. But I needed more. Something tangible. So I bought a hidden camera. I placed it in my living room behind a picture frame, angled perfectly toward my laptop screen. Then I invited Harper over one night for wine and a reboot of our girls' nights. She brought a bottle of rose and homemade brownies. We laughed, cried, watched movies. Then I baited her. I said, "You know, I thought about trying to find who really leaked the photos. The police said they traced an IP address." She went still for a second. "Really?" she said casually, swirling her wine. "Did they say whose?" "No," I lied. "But they're getting closer." I studied her face. Not fear. Not shock. Annoyance. Like she'd just learned someone spoiled a surprise. That night, after she left, I reviewed the footage. Frame by frame. Minute by minute. There it was. The moment she subtly looked at my screen when I mentioned the IP. She knew. And the most damning part? The next morning, the hosting site that had my leaked photos went offline. Vanished. She had access. She saw my clues. She wiped it. That was all the confirmation I needed. I called an old friend from college, Kyle, a cybersecurity major who now worked for a private investigations firm. I told him everything. Showed him the logs, the camera footage, the metadata from the screenshots. I asked him to run one final trace. It came back 2 days later. The IP that uploaded the original photos, the one attached to the burner account, was linked to Harper's home network. The device was a MacBook Air. Registered to Harper Lynn Walsh. Case closed. Only now came the real question. What would I do with this truth? Go to the police again? Maybe. But the justice system doesn't always move fast or fairly. Confront her? No, that would be satisfying, but short-lived. She'd gaslight, deny, cry, twist it around. Maybe even post about how I was unhinged and dangerous. No, if I wanted revenge, real revenge, I had to hit her where it hurt. Her reputation, her business, her entire curated image of being the enlightened, supportive best friend who burned sage and talked about good vibes only. I would take everything she built and burn it to ash. But I wasn't going to make it look like revenge. I was going to make it look like karma. I used to think revenge was loud. That it was screaming matches and car tires slashed at midnight, broken dishes and broken hearts. But when someone ruins your life the way Harper ruined mine, when they dig their claws into the softest part of you and rip, the revenge you crave isn't messy. It's surgical. Clean. Cold. Precise. So I started making a list. A real one, in a leather-bound notebook I kept hidden under my bed. Every line, every move, every connection she had. Her clients. Her projects. Her passwords, yes, she once logged into her blog on my laptop and forgot to log out. Her favorite coffee shop, her yoga teacher, the pet rescue she volunteered at for clout. Harper didn't just have a public image, she had a brand. Her Instagram alone was a 50K followers love fest of soft-lit selfies, filtered smoothies, and inspirational quotes she definitely didn't write herself. She had built an entire business around being the girl next door with big sister energy. And all of it was a lie. I started small. I created an anonymous Gmail. Nothing traceable. Then I wrote a short, carefully worded message and sent it to 3 of her most high-profile clients. Hi there. Just a heads up. You might want to look into who's managing your backend security. Some content has been traced back to your consultant's IP, and it's not professional stuff. No details. No accusations. Just enough. I signed it. From someone who cares about digital safety. Within a week, Harper lost one of her top clients. She didn't know why. She posted about it on her story, something vague about creative differences and letting go with grace. I smiled. That was Domino #1. Next, I dug through her past blog posts and found a few she'd lifted, word for word, from lesser-known wellness writers. I took screenshots, gathered links, and submitted them to a plagiarism watch group that ran exposes on influencers. They published a feature. Is your favorite self-care influencer a fraud? No names, but the quotes were verbatim. And if you followed Harper, it wasn't hard to connect the dots. Domino #2. She texted me that night, fuming. Can you believe this smear campaign? I'm being targeted by jealous people. I swear, I've never copied anyone's content. I sent back. That's awful. People really suck. She had no clue it was me. Not yet. But the real revenge? That came after I saw her latest collaboration post, a paid campaign for a self-love app. She captioned it. You are not your past mistakes. You are not what others say about you. You are worthy. The comments were full of emojis and hearts. It made me sick. Because I knew what she'd done to me. I knew the reality behind the curtain. So I cracked my knuckles. And did something bold. I reached out to Logan. I didn't want to. God, I hated him. But I needed answers, real ones. And if he wasn't the one who leaked my photos, I needed to know what he knew. Why he ghosted. Why Harper had the photos. It took 2 days for him to reply. He agreed to meet. A coffee shop, neutral location, middle of the afternoon. When I walked in, he stood up like he wasn't sure I'd punch him. I know I'm the last person you want to see, he started. You're not wrong, I said, sitting down. But I need the truth. He sighed. Rubbed his jaw. Then dropped the bombshell. Harper messaged me the week before we broke up. Said she was worried about you. That you were spiraling. She sent me screenshots of your texts, cherry-picked ones, and said you were unstable. That I should end things before you got hurt. My stomach dropped. She said you told her you were scared I'd leak your photos, he continued. I never planned to. I deleted them. I swear. I stared at him, heart pounding. She manipulated me. Played me like a fiddle, he said. And when I broke it off, I figured she'd be there for you. I thought I was doing the right thing. I laughed hollow, bitter. You really think ghosting me was right? No, he said softly. But I didn't leak those photos. I swear on my life. If I had, I wouldn't be here now. And for the first time, I believed him. Harper orchestrated all of it. She turned us against each other, played both sides, framed him for a nuclear betrayal. Just to what? To be the heroine who swoops in and holds me while I cry? Or was it deeper than that? I remembered how she once drunkenly said, if I were a guy, I'd be your type. I laughed it off then. But now, I wasn't sure it was a joke. Logan finished his coffee. Before he left, he handed me a flash drive. She sent me emails. I saved them, just in case. I nodded, eyes burning. Thank you, I whispered. I went home, plugged in the drive, opened the folder, and what I saw made my jaw clench. Harper had sent Logan edited screenshots of my messages, ones that made me sound obsessive, unstable, even threatening. She added timestamps that didn't exist. She even wrote fake emails from my account to make me look unhinged. And then, I saw a folder labeled Drafts. Inside were copies of the burner account bio, sample captions, even blurred watermarked versions of my private photos, resized for upload. She had planned this. She wasn't trying to protect me. She was trying to replace me. Be the strong one, the good friend, the safe option after I self-destructed. She wanted to wear my trauma like a costume. That night, I cried. Not because I was broken, but because I finally understood what I was dealing with. Harper wasn't just jealous. She was a predator. And I wasn't done. It was poetic, in a way. Harper had destroyed my life with a few clicks, a fake profile, a handful of blurred, humiliating images, a story no one bothered to question. She turned my private pain into public shame, and she thrived off the fallout. But now I had everything I needed. The screenshots, the metadata, the emails she sent Logan, the timestamps, IP logs, even her draft files with mock captions and tags. It wasn't just a paper trail, it was a full blueprint of her obsession. And I was going to bury her with it. But I knew better than to confront her head on. No screaming matches. No angry texts. Just receipts. And a stage. I started with the email. Not to Harper, but to her favorite podcast. It was a wellness and influencer culture show, behind the brand, with over 200K followers and a reputation for truth-telling. They love taking down fake influencers and toxic figures. I'd seen them destroy careers over much less than what Harper had done to me. So I sent them a message. From a burner address. No name. Just a folder full of evidence and a short subject line. The real Harper Walsh behind the posts. I included the IP logs, her email drafts, the photos, the messages she forged, even her plagiarized blog posts with side-by-side comparisons. Then I waited. 2 days later, I got a reply. "We've reviewed your file. This is explosive. Would you be willing to talk, even anonymously?" I said yes. And the next day, we recorded an interview, voice disguised, face hidden, name redacted. I told my story. Not the sanitized version, the real one. The leaked photos. The public shame. Losing my job. The betrayal. The twist no one saw coming. That it wasn't my ex who destroyed me. It was the best friend who dried my tears. They aired it 3 days later. The episode was titled, Influencer or Instigator? The Harper Walsh You Don't Know. And it exploded. Over 1 million downloads in less than 24 hours. Reddit threads popped up dissecting every detail. TikTok creators started duets and stitch videos breaking it down. Someone even found her old tweets, shady quotes and subtweets that aged terribly in light of the revelations. And just like that, Harper's world began to crack. She went silent on Instagram at first. Her usual posts, sunrise yoga, daily affirmations, smoothie bowls, vanished. Then came the vague story post. People will always try to tear you down when you're thriving. Stay grounded. Stay kind. It was a mistake. Because now the audience was watching. Waiting. The podcast dropped a second episode. The receipts. It was nothing but a breakdown of the evidence. A digital detective walkthrough. IP tracing. Metadata. The emails to Logan. They didn't name her. Legally, they couldn't. But everyone knew. Every single person. Her first brand dropped her that weekend. Then another. Then a third. Within a week, Harper's follower count started plummeting. Influencer watchdog accounts made reels about her downfall. Commenters who used to praise her were now turning against her. "I used to love her content, but this is disgusting. She ruined someone's life and lied for clout? Unfollowed. Gross." She posted a shaky selfie video eventually, makeup free, candle burning in the background, soft piano music playing. She looked devastated. "Hey guys, I need to speak from the heart. There's been a lot said about me recently. A lot of things taken out of context. But I want you to know, I would never hurt someone I loved. Ever. This narrative is false and really painful. She cried on camera. But this time, no one bought it. The comments section tore her apart. And I wasn't done. Remember the old flash drive Logan gave me? It had one more folder, a list of Harper's email contacts, PR managers, brand agents, client feedback forms. I knew which companies she was pitching to, so I sent them an email too. Nothing nasty. Just the facts. Before you consider working with Harper Walsh, here are a few things to know. Attached. The evidence. The fallout was swift. Within 10 days, she had lost nearly every brand deal she had. And then came the cherry on top. One of her former clients, a wellness app she helped launch, released a public statement. We were shocked and saddened to learn of Ms. Walsh's behavior. Effective immediately, she is no longer affiliated with our company. That post went viral. Her name was officially poisoned in the influencer world. But I still had one final card to play. Something even more permanent. I created a website. I titled it The Real Harper Walsh. I didn't post it under my name. Everything was anonymous. But the site laid out the truth in full. Her pattern of manipulation. The betrayal. The fabricated emails. The targeted humiliation of someone she called a sister. It wasn't revenge porn. No graphic content. Just the story. The proof. The truth. I launched the site on a Sunday evening. By Monday morning, it had over 100,000 visitors. By Wednesday, Harper's Instagram was deleted. And her LinkedIn? Wiped. She had vanished. People started messaging me through burner accounts. Women. Victims. Even former friends of hers. They told me she'd always been like this, quietly destructive, jealous, obsessive. Some of them had been hurt by her too, but they never had proof. Now they did. One girl wrote, "You gave us back our voice. Thank you." I cried when I read it, because for the first time since that nightmare began, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like a survivor. I felt free. It had been 3 months since I launched the site. 3 months since Harper's picture-perfect world collapsed under the weight of her lies. Since she was exposed not as a healer, not as a helper, but as the manipulative saboteur she really was. My life hadn't magically gone back to normal, but it was getting there. I had started freelancing again. Quiet projects. Low-key marketing gigs. I kept my online presence minimal, but I could finally walk outside without flinching when someone looked at me too long. I even reconnected with a few friends I'd pushed away during the chaos. Bit by bit, I was stitching my life back together. Harper, on the other hand, had gone completely silent. Her socials were gone. Her YouTube channel vanished. She hadn't responded to the growing list of exposes and Reddit threads. Rumor had it she'd moved out of the city, maybe even changed her name. And yet, it didn't feel over. Something still gnawed at me. Some final string left untied. I thought maybe it was just trauma. Paranoia. The aftermath of months spent in fight or flight mode. But no matter how hard I tried to let it go, one question kept circling in my head. Why did she do it? What could possibly justify the cruelty, the effort, the risk? Jealousy alone didn't explain it. Neither did possessiveness. There was something deeper. And I couldn't rest until I knew. So I did something reckless. I reached out. I sent one last email to her old, now abandoned business account. Just a single line. "You destroyed me, but I still don't understand why." And I think the worst part is, I loved you like family. I didn't expect a response. But 2 days later, one came. No greeting. No sign-off. Just a cold, calculated message that made my blood run ice cold. "You don't get it, do you? You were never supposed to be the main character. You just got lucky. Everything came easy for you. The job, the looks, the boyfriend, the spotlight. Even your trauma was louder than mine. I was always in your shadow. I helped you, supported you, gave you every part of me, and still, you never saw me. You never asked how I was. So I made sure you felt invisible for once." like I always did. You should be thanking me. Because now, you finally see. I stared at the screen, shaking. There it was. The truth. It wasn't about Logan. It wasn't about revenge or money or even control. It was about being seen. Harper wasn't just jealous. She was resentful. She believed I had stolen the life she deserved, that I walked through doors she was always stuck behind. And in her mind, leaking my photos, sabotaging my life, wasn't evil. It was balance. I felt sick. But then came the real twist. Attached to the email was a photo, a hospital wristband, dated 4 years ago. Patient, Harper Lynn Walsh. Diagnosis, early stage ovarian cancer. Treatment, bilateral oophorectomy. She had never told me. Not once. The Harper I knew was always healthy, always glowing. She posted green smoothies and chia bowls and gut health hacks. She talked about fertility affirmations and manifesting future motherhood. But behind the filters, behind the mantras, she was barren, broken, afraid. I sat in silence for what felt like hours. Because suddenly, it all made sense. The way she clung to me. The obsession with Logan. The need to be me or destroy me. She couldn't have what I had. Not really. Not ever. And the world she built, her brand, her influence, her empire, it was never about self-love. It was about control, power, a way to outrun the pain of what she lost. Her body, her future, her identity. And when I became a mirror for everything she couldn't have, she shattered me instead. She chose to become my friend so she could be close. Then she chose to become my destroyer, so she could be free. But here's the thing she didn't count on. I forgave her. Not because she deserved it, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to be free too. From her, from the pain, from the endless loop of why and how and what if. I wrote back only once. I'm sorry no one saw you. But hurting me didn't fix that. I hope one day you heal, truly. Not for me. Not for revenge. For you. She never replied. And I never contacted her again. I changed my number. Moved to a new apartment. Switched coasts entirely. I started a new job. A fresh team. A new version of myself. One who is still healing, still learning, but no longer afraid of her own reflection. And every now and then, someone would ask me, what happened to your old best friend? The one from college? And I'd pause. Take a breath. Then say, she taught me the most important lesson of my life, that not all monsters hide in the dark. Some sit beside you in daylight, holding your hand, smiling sweetly, while they plot your downfall. And I leave it at that. Because some stories don't need to be retold, but they should never be forgotten.